Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Having almost successfully destroyed the Scottish tourism industry by regulating short-term lets, the SNP are still not satisfied. In their eyes, there are still people out there making money from tourism. That's the last thing they want. They want poverty and misery everywhere. People making money? Oh no, they might not vote SNP. And so, to end any hopes for tourism in Scotland, they're going to introduce a tourist tax, just to make sure people do stay away. After all, you can't be having all these foreigners waddling around, looking at things, spending money. That's not the SNP way, is it? And of course, they do have a continual obsession with tax, because everything's got to be taxed, hasn't it? And eventually, of course, the whole of the tourist industry in Scotland will fall apart, but it'll be everyone else's fault, not theirs. Westminster. Let's blame Westminster, they'll say. We'll take a look at this to see why they're being told it's a terrible idea and why they'll still probably try and go ahead with it. Here goes. SNP Government have warned tourist tax will have an extremely negative impact on Scotland and risks industry. The whole of the tourist industry in Scotland relies almost entirely, and this is absolutely the truth, almost entirely on English people. This is a fact, because they're the ones that mostly come up across the border and in. And sure, you're going to get people coming from the continent. You get a lot of Americans and Canadians, sure. Japanese even. But predominantly, it's people coming up from England. Your biggest sort of money spinner, really, is that people south of the border. And that's basically what this is. They want to stop English people coming to Scotland, I think. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. And so, of course, if they regulate the short-term lets, and by regulation it's basically, a protection racket. Oh, somebody over there, they're making money. They're making money renting that property out. Oh, we should have some of that. Thank you, ka-ching. Regulate it, you have to pay a fee. It's a protection racket. And on top of that, now they also want, if we're doing that, we can do a tourist tax as well. It's worked so successfully everywhere else. Let's do a tourist tax. That's on top of the regulate, because this goes on to, the prices of hotel rooms and short stay rooms like that. And that's after, of course, you're already charging these people the registration fee every year. And so they're getting double charged. Well, there's only one way they make that up, of course. They have to put it onto the room rate. And all of a sudden, a room is nearly double. You're going to get lots of people dropping out of the market anyway. The room rates that exist are going to go up through the roof. People who look at that and go, instead of going to Scotland this year, look at God, no, I'll just go to the Lake District, or I'll go to the North East and see Olear, Lindisfarne and all that, or down Cornwall way, rather than going up to Scotland as tourists, because they can't afford to bloody well stay there. And you can't afford to drink there because of the price of the booze. So, I mean, it's just everything you can to keep, and I think deliberately to keep English people out of Scotland. Who knows? But it is also the general spreading of poverty and misery, because they just don't want anyone to get rich and be happy. Because rich, happy people don't vote for the SNP. Anyway, MPs, or MSPs, have been told that the Nationalist plans for visitor levy risks the future of tourism sector in Scotland, with the head of an industry body stating it's the last thing it needs, while it already struggles with the cost of living challenge and, of course, the short-term rental registrations. It's a damn set of stupid ideas from a bunch of morons who don't understand how economies work. Anyway, a planned new visitor levy in Scotland, but dubbed the tourist tax, will exacerbate the negative impacts of campervans and the wild campaign in rural Scotland. MSPs have been warned. Yeah, because people aren't going to pay the bedroom tax to just bring their camper vans up. I know where there's one going spare. And so they clog up the roads, they pump out all the crap into the atmosphere, they cause hold-ups and delays and frustrations. People struggle to get past them, they damage curbs, they damage plants. This is what happens. This is not unexpected. It is what happens. We've all seen it. And of course, that is what's going to happen even further, because you keep pricing people out of rooms where they could be there and, ecologically aware. But that's not what this is about. It's all about raising money in the short term and keeping English people out in the long term. Anyway, it's feared the bill will lead to more people skipping accommodation altogether and opting for wild camping or motorhomes that won't come with a charge but do lead to problems like wildfires, rubbish and destruction of habitats and have proven to be the dreaded nuisance for locals. David Weston, the chairman of the Scottish Bed and Breakfast Association, warned that as it stands, the charge could distort behaviour. I think so as well. It could end up being cheaper to hire a van or even sleep in your car. I've done that on a journey up. We got caught on the M6 hours, and we were expected to do we were on the way up to Inverness, and we were expected to get there for a certain time. And we got caught on the M6. And I must have been stuck on the M6 for about 4 hours. And even when we started moving, it wasn't quick. And of course, it's just thrown everything out. And we're coming up in the middle of nowhere. We just pulled over on the side of the road. Bridge of Orkney, I think, somewhere like that. Quite close to the end, but I just could not drive anymore. Just literally could not keep my eyes open. So I pulled over and said, thinking, I'll have a quick half-hour doze. I was out for 3 hours. Woke up. There was condensation everywhere in the car. I was freezing cold. It was May, but then you're up the top of Scotland at the beginning of May. It's still very, very cold. I was glad to get the car back. I'll warm up. Anyway, he said proposals would make certain behaviours worse, like camper vans, wild camping, which are going to have an extremely negative impact on rural areas. His comments came as MSPs on Holyrood's local government, housing and planning committee began their scrutiny of plans to allow councils to charge a fee for overnight visitor stays. When they say can charge a fee, becomes will charge a fee, because they want to get their fingers in the pie and get as much money as possible as well. And that just means that fewer people will go to these places, and they will die because they just can't maintain their cash flow without these people staying, and people won't stay. Your cash flow goes down, the company or whatever the investment goes, bang, that's all gone. And so the councils actually end up getting less, and the local economy gets less, even though it's such a great idea to tax these people out of existence. They say the money raised would then be reinvested locally in facilities or services used by tourists, and it would end up in the local council area to decide if they will impose the charge, as opposed to not doing it, letting the money be spent naturally in the local areas so that people benefit, not councils. Oh no, can't be having that. Protection racket, yet again. While other European cities have introduced similar charges, Mr. Weston told the MSPs that taxes for tourists in the UK are already high. The other countries that have the tourist taxes with all their other taxes are lower than ours, he said. The idea that £2 or £3 or £5 won't be noticed is not correct in that context. Meanwhile, Fiona Campbell, Chief Executive of the Association of Scotland's Self-Caterers, claimed the proposed charge risks the competitiveness of the Scottish tourism industry. It, along with everything else, will destroy it. But that, of course, is not a byproduct of their introducing that. It is the sole aim. They want tourism in Scotland to go away. They don't want people making money. They need to be in control of everything. She said it's absolutely true that lots of European markets have got levies in place, but they do not have our level of VAT. A new levy in Scotland would be in addition to VAT, whereas in 25 of the EU countries they have a discounted VAT rate for tourism, so we're automatically being disadvantaged. And of course, if you're already paying the extra VAT on it, that's money going to the government. So there you go. Well, you're already paying tourist tax, aren't you? Ms Campbell continued, frankly, I think this is absolutely the last thing the small accommodation and self-catering sector needs. We've just come through a pandemic. We're being massively squeezed by the cost of living crisis. Recovery remains precarious. They don't want you to recover, though. Our international visitors are coming back, but our domestic visitors are not, and that's a real problem. That is a major problem because, as I say, most visitors to Scotland are from England by a long margin. And if you're driving these people out, you're not going to make up with it with, the Americans and the Canadians and whatever. They're not going to come in the same numbers as the English come. It's got to be deliberate. They know what they're doing. It's got to be deliberate. And people will just go elsewhere. Why should I drive all the way up to Scotland to spend more on booze, to spend more on rooms, to basically have less money to spend out and about in the local community up there? Yeah, sod it, I'll just go to the Lake District. Game changer, isn't it? Absolute game changer. But of course, that's what will happen. The people of Scotland have got to stop voting for the SNP if they want to have an economy. Because the longer those people are in, the less of an economy you'll have, the poorer you'll get. And eventually Scotland will fail as a state But that, of course, is the ultimate aim of the SNP. Coming up. I think it must be clear, even to the dumbest of the dumb SNP voters, that all these things aren't accidental. They're all deliberate. Every single thing they do looks like a fail. Looks like a fail to normal people who understand things. Looks like a fail to anyone who's got any of the tiniest half a brain. But to the SNP, it's actually success after success after success, because they're destroying industries, they're destroying livelihoods, they're destroying the future. Because that's what they want, a scorched earth policy where everything is so bad that they can stand there and point to their utopia future if only they can get independence. And what these stupid people who vote SNP don't realise is once you've destroyed it, there's no building it back. And even if you get independence, it's going to be a failed state independence. You won't go back to the way it was. It will just be misery for all forever. And this time Westminster won't be there to bail you out of the shit that you've put yourselves in. Fortunately, you have to look at the good side, there's not enough morons in Scotland that would ever vote for independence. But hey, there's enough of them to keep the SNP in power, and that is what's worrying. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I'll stop there. Thank you very much, as I say. Do please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. And until next time, stay safe, stay well. And remember, the tourist industry in Scotland needs all the help it can get. Bye.